very often that I get to introduce a new brand onto the channel, but today I'm doing exactly that. This is the Omoda 5 from the brand Omoda, and I'm really excited because I've been invited by Southend Omoda to check out this new SUV. And you may be thinking, oh Tish, not another electric SUV from China. But no, this car is from China and it is an SUV, but it's not actually an electric car. It's a new petrol. Underneath the bonnet of this Omoda 5, you will find a 1.6 litre petrol engine with a real decent amount of power that quite shocked me, which you'll find out later in this video. In today's video, I'm going to find out everything there is to know about this new car from this new brand. So if that sounds good, then please keep watching. If you like new car reviews and car content, then hit the subscribe button. And if you wanted to check out the Omoda 5 for yourself, then you can do that at showrooms in Southend. There's one in Coventry and there's also one in Northampton. I'll pop all the details in the description box down below. So who exactly are Omoda? Well, you see, Omoda are owned by the large Chinese manufacturer Chery, and they may be new to the UK, but they're certainly not new to the world. In fact, since 2002, Chery has been the biggest exporter of Chinese vehicles, so they know what they're doing. And in terms of styling, I think it looks pretty good. I wasn't convinced when I saw this car in the showroom. I thought that it looked a little bit meh, but actually outside in the nice weather, I really quite like it. I love that front grille just as it catches the light. It looks quite sharp actually, and the contrasting red brake calipers, which are standard, really give it a sporty feel and I guess kind of slightly hint at its performance values. Now in terms of that grille around the front, of course, it's very bling. It's not going to be for everyone. And you've got those little diamond elements which are just inside of it, finished in chrome. You've also got a chrome bar just underneath the bonnet, and you've got the Omoda spelled out across the bonnet as well. I think it looks smart, but let me know, what do you think of this car down below? You've also got a slim set of daytime LED running lights, and those also double up as sequential indicators as well. And one of my favourite features is just on top of those indicators, you've got this little embossing of gloss black. It feels kind of nice, it gives it a different element. You've got the main headlights which are down here, and you've got some contrasting elements of gloss black, and you have a more rugged kind of black plastic bumper along the bottom to give it a bit more of a practical value as a family car. So in terms of size, how big is this thing? Well, it's around the same size as a Nissan Qashqai, and as you're thinking, that puts it in a really competitive market. So I'm going to find out how it stands up against its competition, because prices for this are pretty good. They start from around £25,000, which for a family SUV nowadays is pretty good, and it feels very high quality, especially on the interior. In a very Chinese way, you've got a lovely greeting image and sound as you step inside of the car. It perhaps is a little bit much, but it's quite nice. I'm going to start up the car straight away because it's absolutely boiling today and I need a little bit of air conditioning on the go. Now inside of the Omoda 5, I really am very impressed by this interior. It feels lovely and high quality. My absolute favourite thing has got to be these seats. These feel fantastic. So they're imitation leather, they're wingback, and they remind me of Cupra seats actually. That wingback design, and you've got the gold stitching and the gold piping, they feel lovely. That gold continues in a cohesive and tasteful way onto the doors. Impressively, every model features an electrically adjusted driver's seat. Stepping up to this higher spec car also adds the passenger side. This centre console I quite like as well, very driver focused, everything is in easy reach, and I love the fact that you can rest your arm on this. I don't really like small armrests. I like to have loads of space to put my arm on, so that's brilliant. And also I know a lot of people kind of hold the gear selector, and loads of gear selectors are going behind the steering wheel. I love having them here. I don't care, I don't want extra space, I don't want extra cup holders. That is perfectly fine for me, and I really like that. So it's quite conventional in its design. You've got this kind of like textured feel to this centre console, which reminds me a lot of the Nissan products, and interestingly enough, very similar to the Nissan products. You've also got a couple of haptic buttons as well, but don't worry, only two. You've got a home haptic button for your touchscreen, which I'll talk about in a moment. So that feels lovely. You've also got some physical buttons here as well. So I've got a heated seat button, and I've also got the drive mode buttons, which is there. There is some storage inside this armrest, which in fact is massive, and it's also cooled as well, which we've got to love. You've got wireless charging up front, and you've also got a little air vent which literally pumps air onto your wireless charging pad. So that's going to make sure your devices don't overheat, which we love. You've got storage underneath this center console here. Now, the only thing that I dislike very slightly is the small use of gloss black, but really they've kept it to a real minimum, but it is somewhere you're going to be touching a lot. And that's because along this central bar is your climate control settings. But I do like that they're always there, and they do have a separate area to the touchscreen. Press these and then that brings up a main screen on the touchscreen. It features two 10.25-inch screens, which are encased in one connected swooping panel. The graphics are sharp, but the 360-degree camera is exceptionally good. The Omoda 5 comes in two simple trim levels, each well equipped. Comfort features wireless smartphone connectivity, synthetic leather seats, and 8-speaker Sony sound system, rear-view camera and sensors, and keyless entry. Stepping up to the Noble model that I've been driving today adds a 360-degree camera, electric sunroof, heated seats, power boot, ambient lighting, and oddly, 2-zone climate control. This right here is the first powertrain that Omoda will be releasing, and it's a straightforward petrol, which is really quite unconventional nowadays. And I'm not even talking mild hybrid. There's literally no electrification assistance, and it's quite a powerful engine as well. Under the bonnet of the Omoda 5, you will find a 1.6 litre turbocharged petrol engine with 184 brake horsepower. That's quite a lot for a little family SUV, and certainly beats a lot of the competition from brands like Nissan with the Qashqai. So if you're looking for a sportier feeling SUV, this might well be the one for you. And I thought maybe they'll hide that power, but actually, as you put your foot down, you even get quite a lot of engine noise as well. It's quite engaging to drive, but saying that, the steering is quite light, and that kind of counters the sporty driving element of the Omoda 5 and makes you more understand that this car is possibly more set up for the city. But it seems this car has more personalities when it comes to driving than maybe I first thought, and that just goes to show you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. I thought this is going to be a boring SUV to drive, but actually it's quite the opposite. Now, you can only get the Omoda 5, despite being in a petrol, as a automatic, and that's a 7-speed auto, so unfortunately no manuals. But I kind of think they've already got their work against them, convincing people to stray away from the regular mainstream brands and going for a Chinese car when it comes to petrol, because I believe that electric car drivers are a bit more daring. They're willing to take chances and go for brands that they haven't heard of. But when it comes to petrol buyers, they're more set in their ways, which is a shame, because stack this against a lot of the competition and it looks quite a lot more impressive. As you can imagine, however, there is a trade-off for this being a slightly sportier feeling car, and that's fuel economy. There's a reason why so many brands are opting to go for mild and strong hybrids, and that's because of fuel economy. This car gets a trusty petrol engine, and in trusty petrol ways, it's a little bit thirsty. It's not the worst, but you're going to be seeing around 35 to 40 miles per gallon, which when you compare it to other hybrid SUVs along this same range, once again talking about the Nissan Qashqai, it is going to go through a little bit more petrol. The rear doors don't quite open as wide as the class-leading Nissan Qashqai, but actually they're pretty good. I could easily load child seats into the back here, of which there's 2 ISOFIX fitments on the outer edges. Now, once you're inside, Those lovely chunky sports seats do eat into a bit of the legroom, and also the lovely sunroof you get on the top spec model also eats into a little bit of headroom. But I'm 5'5" and I'm perfectly comfortable back here. It's not a huge family car, but it's a decent small family car. In terms of amenities, I've got pockets on the backs of the seats. I've got some rear ventilation. I've got one USB charger. Would have been nice if that was USB-C, and I would have liked to have seen more than one, but that will suffice. I've also got a pull-out armrest with cup holders, and I've got a decent amount of storage inside of the doors. Sure, it's not the best rear seat of this class of car, but then the best will probably cost you around £10,000 more. Okay, let's check out the rear design of the car. Around the back, I personally think that it looks a lot like a jacked up MG4, and that's no bad thing because the MG4 has some really sporty and dynamic styling. One of the things I really like is this top spoiler. It has these aero vents in it. It just looks very, very sporty. And that's not the only spoiler either. You also have a spoiler across the boot as well. It just looks quite sporty to go with that engine. You've also got a light bar which runs all the way along the centre, and then Omoda spelled out on top of it. You also have these quite angular arrow style lights which hug the corners of the car. They're all the things that I like, and not forgetting the fact that I like that you've got a raked rear window and you've still got a rear wiper, which is a big thumbs up. But the things that I don't like, it's quite high at the back. It sits really high. You've got a slightly cheaper bumper, but that's going to be good for when you're in car parks, because if you have any little dinks or dings, they're not going to affect it if they hit this bumper. But it's just the rear tailpipes. We all know how I feel about fake rear tailpipes, and it's just not the nicest aesthetic look. Now inside of the boot, which you unlatch just up here, which is good because it's not going to get dirty up there, you have got 380 litres of space, which is pretty good. But once again, because the car is quite high up, it does mean you've got quite a high load area. But look at that. It means it's really practical for loading in, as it's exactly waist height. Getting suitcases in there will be no trouble at all. Also, you've got that completely flat load area as well. So once again, you're not going to get suitcases stuck on things. It's going to be really easy to stack. Despite this being just a petrol model, and they're looking like there should be loads of space underneath, you do only get a very, very small amount of extra boot space underneath the boot floor. Still, it's just enough to tuck items away, but it would have been nicer to have something like Ford do with the Puma, with the Mega Box. That would have been really handy, especially with all that space going on under there. But overall, I cannot complain. 380 litres is a really usable amount. You've got a few tether down points, you've got some 12-volt charging. It's just pretty good. Not exceptional, but good. Pricing for the Omoda 5 starts from £25,235 for the comfort trim and £27,035 for this noble spec. The only other options include a few colour choices, two-tone roof and upgraded wheels. The fully electric model will also follow shortly, starting from just over £33,000. I have to applaud Omoda for launching in the UK with a new petrol car. Petrol owners are always going to be a little bit more awkward. They're more stuck in their ways. Electric owners and electric buyers are more willing to take chances and go for new brands. But petrol buyers, they want to stick with their brands that they know and love. But the problem is, when those brands that they know and love keep hiking up the prices and reducing the quality, brands like this become ever more appealing. But let me know, have you been looking at an Omoda 5? What do you think of the brand? Pop it in the comments down below. If you have enjoyed the video, go ahead and give it a big thumbs up, and want to see more videos like this, then please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Also, if you wanted to check one out for yourselves, then you can do that at the new Southend, Coventry and also Northampton dealers. I'll pop all the details in the description box down below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Until next time, see you later.